Hi, this is Jeremy Katz for ogilvydo. I'm here with Philippe Schwartz, who's the president of Withings. He's just come off stage where he's sat in on a panel about wearable computing, and he agreed to spend a few minutes with us to answer a couple more questions about wearable computing. So, Philippe, what do you think the promise for brands is with wearable computing today?
Well, huge. I think if we find ways to give access of the data that is being gathered by consumers about their weight, about their blood pressure, about their activity, the impact that this can have on brand and the relationship and the conversation between brands and consumers, I think, are huge. How it's going to be done and how you deal with a lot of issues, that's a lot of open question as a result of that, but I think the impact can be used. We can target more specifically what users need when they are, to lose weight. They need to eat this way versus this way, so there is a lot of personalization and targeting that can be done, so more value to consumers. And also as a result of that, more engagement, because that's really what's going to help consumers understanding when they track all that information, which is what we are helping us at Withings doing. When they track all this information, they're able now to find, through the brands, hopefully done in a very overt and a very respectful of privacy fashion, they're able now to find actual solutions that are going to help them basically making the need for change actionable for them. So it's a huge opportunity in my mind.
So speaking of privacy, how do we resolve those issues around privacy? I mean, do we trust the brand? Do we trust a company like Withings? Do we trust in laws? What's the way around the fact that this is very personal data that's being administered essentially broadly?
Well, I think it's a trust, like a lot of stuff happening when you're on Facebook and you start seeing some targeted advertising that comes to you,
Yep.
kind of connected to the type of pictures or location or whatever that have been posted on your page. Mm-hmm. So I think it's kind of pretty similar to that. You're right; it's sometimes and many times in the world of health and wellness much more private. You're talking about a lot of privacy here. So I think it has to be a very clear contract between the brand and the consumers about this is what the consumer is getting, this is what the brand is getting, this is what we're going to be using for what purpose. It has to be very transparent in the way it's being done, and also it has to make sense from what do I get for that. Mm-hmm. So I think the world has got us used already to, if I get a free app, I'm expecting that I'm going to be getting some type of advertising, or at least it's kind of a norm. First of all, I should be able to opt out of that, say mm-hmm. I don't want this anymore, mm-hmm. and the data shouldn't be used anymore. It has to also have to be very clear that the data that I'm ready to share with that specific brand is not data that can be sold to other people. But at the end of the day, I think it's something that has to be resolved, talked about, but I think there is an opportunity, a real win-win between consumers and brands here.
So what do you think is around the corner? What do we still not know about?
So many things. I think there is no one area that I can think about that needs to be changed, improved. New sensors that are going to be able to track better your sleep. New sensors that are going to be able to detect early situation of diabetes. Better and more persistent measurement of blood pressure. Better tracking of food. Better tracking of your age. Because age is an interesting one. It's not only about what your age, your age.
Yeah.
What's your physiological age? How do you track that? What a discrepancy between how old you are and how you biologically and how old you are
right.
in your passport. So I think there's a lot of things that are going to be tracked. Concussion test or seamless dehydration test kind of thing. I mean, sky's the limit. It's just going in so many directions.
Now, these are all things that are going to require, many of these things are going to require specialized sensors. Mm-hmm. So this sort of falls into the trend that you mentioned up on stage, which was that there was going to be a general trend and a specific trend. Could you elaborate on that for us?
It may be a fashion trend.
And a fashion trend.
But yeah, so I think the generic trend is going to be, I think the way wearable computing is evolving between what you can do at the smartphone, at the mobile device level, and when more generic devices will start showing up on the wrist, mm-hmm. Potentially on your face. Mm-hmm. I think this is going to help application developers using the sensor that are already embedded in these devices and basically create good app on top of that, but the sensors will come for very generic type of information, your speed, how much you've been moving during the night, for the number of steps and the number of stairs you've been climbing. I think we'll be able to get a lot of that information that for which today you need a specialized device, you'll be able to get it from generic devices. I think there are, going back to some example, to the example of more accurate sleep analysis, example of glucose analysis, of persistent blood pressure kind of thing, where more specialized devices are going to be required, and sensors are going to be required. And then you got the fashion aspect where people just maybe like or don't like or like for a certain period of time or in certain situation to wear kind of that cool piece of rubber or whatever jewelry. I mean, they're talking about people having trackers now in the jewel themselves. So I think there are a lot of trends. So I think there is a third bucket about fashion statement as well.
Oh, that's interesting to explore. Well, thank you very much for your time. I know you have to run to catch a plane home.
Right.
So we appreciate your coming out to Verge and spending a few minutes here with us at ogilvydo.
Thank you very much.
It was a fascinating presentation.
Thank
Thanks
you
so much.
for the opportunity. Thank you.